To everyone watching this, thank you for being here. Your attention means more than words can capture. I promise this story will grip you, twist your emotions, and leave you thinking long after the final line. She laughed, and it cut deeper than any knife could. That was the first thought that hit me when she casually joked. If you ever cheated on me, I'd laugh first and cry later. It was meant to be playful, light-hearted, a teasing remark over dinner, but the way her eyes sparkled with amusement, it felt like a slap in the face. I forced a laugh, the kind of laugh that hides suspicion beneath politeness. But inside, a tiny spark of unease ignited. The days that followed were oddly silent, filled with undercurrents I couldn't name. Every time she left her phone on the counter, I noticed the slight twitch of her hand reaching for it first, the subtle hesitation before she met my eyes. I told myself I was imagining things, that paranoia was a husband's curse. Still, the joke haunted me. Why would she laugh at a scenario so cruel? One evening, I came home early from work. The apartment smelled faintly of her perfume. But there was something else, an unfamiliar scent, faint, almost metallic. She was at the kitchen counter, humming softly, chopping vegetables. "Hey," she said, smiling without looking up. "You're early. I thought I'd surprise you." I replied, my voice neutral, but my gaze was sharp, scanning, searching. She looked at me, a flicker of something. Was it guilt? Passing behind her eyes. I shook my head. Maybe I was reading too much into it. Weeks passed. Small things began to unravel the fabric of what I thought I knew. Bills that didn't match her usual spending, subtle lies about meeting friends, messages left open and deleted too quickly. Each clue alone could be coincidence. Together, they were a map, leading me somewhere I didn't want to go. One night, I stayed awake listening. Her laughter floated from the living room. A call, a joke, a familiarity I didn't belong to. I checked the small details. The phone unlocked for a fraction too long, the flicker of hesitation when I asked her who was texting. I told myself to stop. Denial whispered seductively. I wanted to believe in the life we had built, the promises, the years of trust. But then I found it. A single message, innocuous in isolation but damning in context. Her words to someone else. A playful tease, a flirtation, a fragment that screamed betrayal. My chest tightened. It wasn't a mistake or a joke anymore. My wife, my partner and everything, was slipping away, and I had been blind. I didn't confront her that night. I needed calm clarity. Rage would ruin everything. I watched, patiently, silently, as she moved through her routines, unaware that I was no longer a man fooled by appearances. I collected every inconsistency, every lie, until the picture was complete. And then I acted, but not in anger, not in spite. I acted to teach her the weight of consequences, the gravity of the trust she had shattered. I began with her finances, subtly redirecting access, freezing accounts she assumed were private. I made sure she felt the tension of her actions without spilling the secret. She noticed first when a credit card was declined, then when a transfer failed. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "What happened?" she asked, voice trembling just slightly, the laughter gone. "I think it's time we reevaluate our priorities," I said calmly, almost too calmly, letting the silence stretch between us like a tightrope. Her world began to shift, small fractures appearing where she had never noticed. Every missed call, every denied request, every unexpected block revealed a life no longer within her control. I didn't gloat. I didn't scream. I simply let the consequences unfold, letting her piece together that betrayal is never without cost. The turning point came one late evening. She sat across from me, eyes wide, vulnerability mixing with fear. I didn't think you'd notice," she whispered. "I noticed," I replied. My voice was quiet but absolute, steady. "And I kept everything within the bounds of what is fair, what you once promised we would uphold." She looked away, shame replacing the arrogance that once masked her betrayal. For a moment, the woman I had loved, the partner I had trusted, was visible again. Not triumphant, not mocking, just human. We didn't speak for hours. I watched her, the realization slowly dawning, and I felt a mix of triumph and sorrow. This wasn't victory in the traditional sense. This was survival, reclaiming control over the pieces of my life she had tried to manipulate. I had proven that actions have consequences, that betrayal leaves marks not just on the heart but on the life it invades. Days turned into weeks. She grew quieter, introspective. I remained distant, respectful, observant. The home we shared was no longer a place of blind trust, but a space defined by the hard-earned boundaries I had drawn. And in that silence, I found an unexpected clarity. I had not just punished her. I had preserved myself. Finally, one evening she spoke. I understand now. I see what I did, and I regret it. Her voice was raw, brittle, sincere. I nodded, not as a judge but as a man who had learned the depth of human frailty, the dangerous power of neglect and betrayal. Understanding is the first step, I said. What comes next is up to you. I left her then, not out of anger, not in spite, but because the man I had been, the man who laughed, who trusted blindly, was gone. In his place stood someone who had been tested, broken, and forged stronger for it. I had survived her betrayal. And in surviving, I had learned that consequences, when delivered thoughtfully, are the truest measure of justice. And as I closed the door behind me, leaving her to the silence of reflection, I realized something profound. Love is not ownership, and trust, once broken, cannot be assumed. It must be earned every day. The joke she had made, the humiliation she thought harmless, had become the catalyst for truth. Sometimes, life doesn't offer grand gestures or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it whispers the consequences, lets them unfold slowly, and teaches in silence. And when the lesson is complete, the reflection remains, not just of the betrayal, but of the strength it took to survive it.